Goodness, love, and kindness are with us. Holy mystery, God is with us. Kindness to one another in grief and love shared unites us. God's love unites us. God's purpose steadies us, and God's Spirit comforts us. Good morning and welcome to Grace United Church. My name is Lynn Hamilton, and today I'm serving together with my colleague, Catherine Vance. It's a privilege for both of us to attend the Roberts family and lead the service today where we celebrate Wayne's life. We gather together in this time in the protective shelter of God's healing love to remember the life of Gordon Wayne Roberts. We gather in this moment and on this day as one, and in our grief and mourning, earthly differences are all set aside. We are today a unified people who shared life with Wayne, and today is the day set aside for remembering, honoring, and celebrating him. Beloved husband of Sherry, father, brother, father-in-law, grandfather, uncle, and good friend and neighbor. It is the death of Wayne that's brought us together. However, it's his fruitful life, full of laughter and love, that we wish to remember. You folks are gathered here today and joined together by common love, respect, shared grief, and memories of Wayne. This is a day where tears may flow, even though they've been shed, sometimes together with family or friends or alone. Tears have been shed since Wayne's final illness and death. It's also a day when tears are likely to smile with smiles of memories and welcome. We're free to express our grief, face our loss, and know that God, in and through this community, cares. Today we remember and give thanks. We give thanks for the life of Wayne, who over the course of his years served, volunteered, and worked in Norfolk. This is a time when only love, patience, and kindness expressed as respect and care in faith and shared in relationship can comfort. We remember the promise, "Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest." The hymns and music selections today were selected by Wayne's family, and we're going to begin our service today with "In the Bulb There Is a Flower," number 703. For those of you who haven't been in our sanctuary before, you're going to find the directions to lead the service and all the words up here on the screen. And even if you're not a singer, I encourage you to sing out today in love and in respect. Because when this sanctuary is filled with music and people as it is today, it's wondrous. We're going to sing "In the Bulb There Is a Flower." Please stand. There's a spring Please be seated. Let us pray. Loving God, Spirit of care and compassion, you support us through all those moments in our lives when we come face to face with what we do not completely understand. Even though we accept death as part of life and recognize that death can be an ease of some suffering and the end of worry and pain, we're faced with a mystery that we cannot completely unravel. God, today the gathered, we acknowledge that Wayne, who has touched many lives with his sociable ways and hard work over decades, has died. We come to offer respect and to share memories with his family. Holy God, we thank you that in your power and creativity, you've ensured that whomever and whatever we've loved becomes a part of us, fused with our lives, blended with our memory and our mind forever. We thank you for the joys and challenges of having shared life with Wayne, and we're thankful for all that was edgy and neighborly and kindly and loving and loyal in Wayne that will travel with us into the future and never be lost to us. God, we entrust Wayne to abide with you in death as in life you entrusted him to us. We offer these words and petitions in sincerity and hope and love, in truth and trust, and we pray as we are willing and able, after the fashion of our respective denominations and traditions, the family prayer of Jesus, the faith into which Wayne was born and baptized. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. We're going to sing the 23rd Psalm this morning. It'll be familiar to many of you. As I said, if you're not, the words will be up here on the screen.
Free.
There are some of us gathered for whom getting up and down a lot is a bit of a chore. So if you feel called, please remain seated through the hymns if you're more comfortable. The scripture selected by Sherry for today is from 1 Corinthians. The greatest of these is love. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Meanwhile, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Thanks be to God. You'll notice that all the hymns today selected by the family have a love theme. And our hymn now is Love Lifted Me. And please stand as you're able to sing.
Love lifted me.
I'd like at this time in the service to invite Wayne's grandchildren forward to light a candle of memory for their grandfather. Come on up. You can stand just right there in front of the thing. Yeah, just right there in front of the thing. There you go. Okay, I'm sorry to do this. I didn't bring out my notes, so you're going to have to help me. I remember everything, but I'm letting you know. I typed it up and forgot to print it out into the thing. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Leila, you're coming first. You're volleyball, right?
Yep, volleyball.
Okay, good. I'd like to invite Leila forward. In sharing memories of her grandfather, we light this candle to support, to symbolize Wayne's commitment to family and community. Leila's memory talks about the times that her grandfather, while he was a guy who knew a lot more about hockey than he did volleyball, would show up with his comb over to support her at every single volleyball game. Yours is vacations, hockey, right? And going when it was hot. I'd like to invite Tucker forward to light a candle that symbolizes Wayne's commitment, even when he wasn't maybe totally enjoying something, to pull through. He would go on family vacations, which his grandchildren described as fun. But Wayne didn't like hot weather. So the grandchildren shared that he was always giving and prepared to participate in family fun, even when he wasn't as comfortable as he could be. Thank you, Tucker. What was yours? I will remember. Brought me the engagement. Perfect. I would like to invite Megan forward, and she's going to light a candle to symbolize the wisdom that Wayne shared. Always understated, perhaps, but recently Megan became engaged, a joyous family occasion, and she asked her grandfather advice. And he said, "There's no I in we. From now on, you are never an I, you are only a we." We light this candle to symbolize the wisdom of Wayne Roberts. Remind me. I'd like to invite Emma forward. Wayne was continually learning. And he was a creative man, and he shared that learning and creativity with others. And that creativity and that desire to learn, sort of a lifelong energy he had, is shared with his children and with his grandchildren. So we light this candle in order to symbolize the creativity that was in Wayne Roberts that he so generously shared with his family and his friends. Thank you for coming up and remembering your grandfather.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome forward Mark Roberts to share some reflections on his father. Good.
We'll see. All right. Jeez. When we think of Wayne and his life, it's always going to be through our own individual filters. So my experience is going to be different than yours. I'm going to try and paint as vivid a picture as possible, but I know I'll fall short. What is evident, however, by seeing everybody here, is that Wayne has touched so many people, so many lives, and given us so many memories. He was my hero. Wayne is known by many names: husband, father, brother, grandpa, uncle, and friend. He was a mentor, a coach, a manager, a helper, and a teacher. So recently the family and I had the great fortune to sit with Dad and chat about his life, his memories, and there were some things that I didn't know, things that made him even more interesting, things that made me admire him even more than I already do. And just talking with some of you today, there's even more stories that are to come, I think. Wayne grew up and lived most of his life between Port Dover and Simcoe, working the farm with his siblings, Marilyn, Joan, and John. And he would tell us that he was the hardest working of the lot, which I kind of believe, knowing John. But again, you never know, because they were both cut from the same cloth. After his dad, my grandfather, stopped farming and construction, the family moved from the house where they grew up to what is referred to as the halfway house. And that was right on the corner of Highway 6 and 24, where his dad ran a gas station and where he started his future of fixing, building, and selling cars. Now, this property was on the corner before there was a curve from 6 to 24. And when the county wanted that property to make the curve, the family moved again. Now, this time, as a young 20-something, Dad was dating the love of his life, Sherry, a Dover girl. A bit more on that later. The story goes, though, that he bought the house that was currently on that corner and moved it down the road about a kilometer toward Dover, and this would become our family home. The gas bar moved about half a kilometer the other way toward Simcoe, and this would be the business of Robert's Auto Repair. This is a place that Corey and I would fix our cars after we had smashed them up the night before. A story which I had thought was specific to Corey and I, but after talking to John and Eddie and some others, we found that the apple truly didn't fall far from the tree. As I mentioned earlier, he married Sherry, the love of his life, in 1964, and he and Mom recently celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary at the Erie Beach. Now, he loved the Erie Beach, and he wasn't shy of letting us in on his menu hacks. He was proud to be able to order off-menu ribs and getting Rose to pick the raisins out of the rice pudding because he was a really special customer. And it actually makes me wonder a little bit the coincidence of the Schneiders selling their business and his passing. And I'm not saying it's related, but I'm also not saying it. Wayne was known as a fixer, a builder, and a teacher, a guy that you could count on no matter whenever, whatever, or whoever needed it. He was a teammate, a coach for minor hockey, a lifelong Lions member, an avid church supporter, even if he was caught napping, or, as he says, just resting his eyes. Wayne loved his family, Mom, Julie, Corey, and myself, by simply being there, always, without question, for whatever we needed, whenever we needed it. And as more of us came into the family, Nicola and Sarah, we started to chip away at his stoic emotion by forcing hugs on him over and over. So that when his grandkids arrived, Emma, Megan, Leela, and Tuck, the wall was completely gone. He was a quiet soul that showed his love through the act of doing, rather than always having to say it. In fact, it became a challenge to have him say, "I love you," back to us. Love you was often meant with a yep, sometimes a me too, and sometimes even just a nod. But whether he said it or not, there was never any question that Wayne loved each and every one of us. I think one of the things that I admire most about Dad beyond his giving nature was his ability to find joy, contentment, and fulfillment in whatever he did. He was an entrepreneur, building and growing a business, supporting a family, all on what we thought was a grade 8 education. He proudly corrected us and said, no, I made it to grade 12. However, I didn't pass because of phys ed and English. Now, phys ed's a bit of a head scratcher, but if you've ever received a text from him, failing at English sort of makes sense. But in true Wayne fashion, whether he knew something or not, he dove right in, learning computers, social media, and how to make a new password every time something didn't let him in. Wayne was creative. He was a thinker, a bit of an engineer, problem solving right up until the end. I do remember when I was young how he completely fabricated the entire drivetrain for the Lions fish float used in parades. He customized and sold dune buggies as well as countless custom cars. He taught me not only to fix up cars, but in general not to give up on things, to put some effort in and to make them better. And when he started thinking about retirement, he got into woodworking, construction, building cabinets and furniture. He was a proud founding member of the A-Team with Eddie, the guys you'd go to for anything that needed fixing or building. And when that became too much for him, he pivoted again and became a stained glass artist. He took a course, he dove in, and he started creating. And as Wayne would do, he always felt the need to give back, so he started teaching it. I think this adaptability is what has been ingrained in me, what I appreciate most about what he taught me. Wayne never complained, although he sometimes always looked grumpy. He just adjusted the sails and got on with it. He also made things easier. He took the burden away from you so that your life became richer, while he quietly bore the weight. I want to wrap up by simply reiterating what Wayne brought to the world. He was kind, he was supportive, and he loved those around him. So I want all of us to make a promise as we leave here today. Our goal will be to make something better. We will look to help and to be supportive and to be kind to anyone you meet and love without question, because that's what Wayne would do. Love you, Dad.
Thank you, Mark, for that beautiful reflection on your father. I invite Corey forward to say a few words.
Just a little bit taller.
Nice.
Thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, I had no idea Dad really knew this many people. He must be more social than I realized. So when my mom asked me if I wanted to speak today, I was unsure. I certainly wanted to and believed I would regret it if I didn't, but I was not sure if I was capable of getting through it, so we're all about to find out. But to get through this, I am going to do my best to keep it on the lighter side, or else it's be a train wreck. So instead of a reflection, I'm calling this Ramblings About Dad. So as many of you know, he was in the hospital for a week and a bit before he passed. And not really knowing how long he had, I thought it was a good idea to have a little heart-to-heart with Dad. Now, I know I said I'd keep it light, so it's not the traditional Hallmark movie heart-to-heart. It's really not how we roll in the Roberts crew, or at least with me and my dad. So don't worry about that. It's not going to be too heart-to-hearty. We like to keep them short and sweet and simple. So here's how it went. I was there with him it was just after supper. I think Mom had just went home for the night. It was just me and him. So I dug deep. I summoned all my courage. And I said, "Thanks for everything, Dad." He smiled and said, "You're welcome." Simple, short and sweet. And then, because he was lucky enough to have a TV in his room, we watched Wheel of Fortune. Now, I thought about that later, and I thought he could have said, "It's time for wheel, not you're welcome." But I'm going to believe he said, "You're welcome." Now, that may not seem like near enough to some, but for us, it was perfect.
You're good.
Any more would have been forced, unnecessary, and awkward. The man just wanted to watch his shows, and being there with him was priceless for me. However, after Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy comes on. And I got to tell you, that was a humbling experience for both of us. And I'm very happy that he was good at fixing cars, and I'm okay at drawing pictures. So we didn't leave there feeling any smarter, or I didn't leave any smarter. So now on the ride home, I did get a little bit more serious with myself and really consider what I was thanking him for. And I started to ponder all the things he'd done for me and my family and everyone in the community, really. And I said, I came up with a pretty long list pretty quick. Now, I didn't share this with Dad. As mentioned before, it's kind of not our way, and it was not necessary. However, I will make you fine folks hear a few of what I came up with. To start, we'll start, simply. I am eternally grateful for the wonderful childhood that Mom and Dad provided for us. Simple things, coaching hockey, rides to hockey, growing up in the country, riding dirt bikes and snowmobiles. Like Mark mentioned, helping fix up my first car so it was ready to go when I got my license so I could escape the country, which at 16 gets a bit boring. For helping me through college, both financially and with transportation off of the used car lot. Which also led to some extra trips for him to Kitchener when we realized that some of the used cars were a bit more used than thought. But he did that without complaint. At least he didn't complain to me. All right, where are we here? I'm also, on that note of post-secondary school, I'm thankful that he happily accepted that his two strapping boys were not going to take over the shop, but they were going to become designers. He never once tried to talk me out of it. Maybe tried to talk Mark out of it because he was better with cars. But he never tried to talk me out of it. And even though I don't think he had any idea what being a designer meant at that time, but to be fair, I don't think I did either. I really just did it because Mark was doing it and he kind of seemed to like it. So that was a good choice, Mark. I appreciate that. And so far, so good. Similar to Mark, I appreciate he instilled in me a desire and some ability to build it, fix it, and figure it out. But he also taught me that don't try and outsmart your common sense. Sometimes the wise choice is to do what you do best, make a little money, and pay an expert to help out. For me, that's things like electrical work, and dentistry. Just some things you don't want to do. I'm thankful I got to see and learn from his work ethic. 6 days a week, 40 plus years, and that's just his job. On top of that, community, coaching, Lions, everything. The simple lesson, hard work pays off. Oh, bless you, Julie. Hard work pays off, and if you're gonna do something, do it well. But again, he taught me don't get carried away with this. In a follow-up lesson, he taught me that there are different levels of doing it well. This lesson was received loud and clear when Sarah and I were renovating a house we bought on Main Street 20 some odd years ago. Of course, Dad was there to help whenever he could be. Now, it was a demo, so the demolition was all done. And we were framing in a new wall to hold up a beam, like this was gonna hold up the house, right? So I thought we were moving along nicely, making good time. I was, measuring twice, cutting once, making sure everything fit, checking level every which way, making sure I did it well, like I was taught. So Dad wanders over to me to inspect, and I thought I was gonna say, good job, we're doing great and that, but no, said something a little different. He said, we're not tuning a piano here. And it sounds like some of you know what that means, right? But translation, I learned, was sometimes good is more than enough. And let's get this done because I want to go home. Likely to watch The Wheel of Fortune. I'm glad he got to know all of his grandchildren, and he got to see Emma become the best designer of all the Roberts, to see Megan get engaged, to see Leela get her last 2 acceptances to Guelph the day before he passed, to see Tucker snipe a few goals this year, and be able to see Tuck's first couple projects from shop class, knowing that the Build It gene will continue. I'm thankful Mom, with the help of Sarah, dragged him on a bunch of vacations with my family when our kids were younger. Florida several times, Dominican Republic, Aruba. Wonderful times spent watching our kids be goofballs at places like Legoland in Florida in 85-degree heat for 8 hours. Then later, he sat with the kids building the Lego that he likely bought for them, never complaining. He was a trooper and/or a bit crazy. Right. Almost done here. I'm even thankful that I disappointed him from time to time, maybe a couple more times. I know it's hard to believe, but it happened. It showed me his true patience and how to handle little punks like myself at the time in stressful situations, somehow staying calm, all the while explaining how badly I messed up. I was always amazed at how he could do this. Then it dawned on me that by the time he got to me, by the time I did all my dumb stuff, he was an expert in handling such situations. Since he had a bit of practice, from all the stories we heard from at the hospital, from him and some from friends, the way I figured is he did everything that I did, for sure. With the likes of Eddie and Harold, there's no doubt. And then Mark came along, a couple years older, so 100% for sure. He did a lot of dumb things before me. So Dad had that experience as well. So like I say, by the time I did my dumb stuff, which was far less than Mark, no doubt, he was armed with the power of experience. That or he was just tapped out and didn't want to deal with it. Dad showed me that you don't have to be the loudest or say the most to be heard, that actions truly speak louder than words, to consider other opinions and points of view, but make your own choices and stand by them. And if over time those choices prove less than perfect, you own it. Most of all, I'm grateful for the 60+ years you shared with Mom. Loving and laughing, working through tough times, always unselfish, putting Mom and us kids first. Now, Sarah will tell you I have a little room for improvement in the putting everyone else first category. And I don't disagree, but to be fair, Sarah and I are only 20+ years in, so I figure I have a few more years to hone that skill. Now, these are just a few of the things that were rattling around in my head on that drive home after our Robert-style heart-to-heart, and in the days since he's passed. But I hope it gives you a bit of insight into the kind of man I thought he was, and how lucky and proud I am to be his son. To end, I will encourage all of you who knew him to be thankful, because I believe if you knew him, your life is better for it. Thanks again for everything, Dad.
Thank you, Corey, for those ramblings about your beloved father. Julie wrote a poem once about her dad, and I'd like to invite Sherry forward to share that poem with you.
This is a book that Julie put together back in, I believe it was 1995. And the poem was written for two purposes. The first being a Father's Day gift for my dad. The second being a perfect opportunity to tell Dad how much I love him. The Best Dad is the title. I love my dad for who he is. I love my dad for what he does. I loved him when I was young. I loved him when I was small. He loomed so far above me, I could barely see the top of his head. He had such big hands. He had such gentle hands. He had such a kind smile. He had such a big smile. I loved the way he joked and teased. I grew up and nothing changed. I love my dad just the same. I love him for what he does for me. He believes in me. He believes I'm smart. He believes I'm intelligent. He loves me in spite of my autism. He loves me in spite of the things I do that he doesn't understand. I love his quiet strength. I love spending weekends with him. I love when he makes things for me from wood. He is so smart. He is so talented. He is my dad. I love you, Dad. Hugs and kisses from Julie. Happy Father's Day.
Julie, that's one of the most beautiful pieces of writing about a father I've ever heard. You are gifted in your expression. I feel some relief that we're going to get to stand and sing now. That was so moving. And after that, we'll hear a reflection from the Reverend Catherine Vance. So this song also was picked by the family, and it's called Because He Lives. And at this point, I would really, really like to thank Brenda McCrae for her ministry to the family this week, her ministry of music, where she and Sherry were able to go through and pick hymns that were relevant for the family and also had that old-time gospel feel that worked for Wayne. So Brenda, thank you for your music of ministry, and Brenda will lead us in Because He Lives. Just before, excuse me, just before I offer my message, I will mention many of you, I was able to give you cards as you were coming in, memory cards that you could write a memory to share with Sherry that you have of Wayne. And these will bring her comfort in the days, weeks, months, even years to come as she will sit down and look through them. And I wasn't able to give them to you all. I didn't want to give them to those on the stairs because I didn't want them working on them and tripping. So anyway, I will take them up to the hall when we're finished here. I'll leave some at the back so that those who aren't joining for the lunch after will have an opportunity if they like. Those of you who I gave them to, if you don't have time or you can't remember, if your memory's like mine, you may need some time to think what you're going to write, or probably many have too many memories to put on a card. So to pick one to share with Sherry. So they're at the back, and I'll take some upstairs. So that's what those are about. I'll try not to repeat much of what the boys have said. Mark and Corey, and even the prayer or the poem from Julie have said so much about Wayne, and I know some of you are here to support the family that didn't have the privilege to know Wayne very well. Certainly what you've heard already is quite an amazing picture. No wonder, since you're designers, right, you can do this. So, language has a life of its own. As cultures change, so does the language used to express thoughts, feelings, experiences. And words are just words until they are put together into thoughts and images. Even then, the emphasis on some words or even syllables offer different understandings. And so too can what is said in one context offer something totally different in another. And one of the examples I would use, because many of you are old enough to know this, I learned a few months ago that the word sick has a different meaning, that's S-I-C-K, than it did at one time. I know back, about 1969, when I wore my miniskirt, my grandmother, if she'd seen me, would have said, "Catherine, that looks sick." Today, if I wore a miniskirt, oh no, I better not today, but anyway, if a 14 or 15-year-old today were to walk by in a miniskirt and somebody said, "That looks sick," that would be quite the compliment. So language does change over time. And scholars will note that the context of the reading from Corinthians that is so popular was actually part of an admonition he was giving to the people of Corinth, who were not getting along very well. The website that I go to read different translations of the Bible has over 60 translations. So I go through and I pick some. Never have I read all 60 for anything, but I read some different ones to get a sense of what it means to others. And so let's look again at the one we used to speak to us this day. The intonation Paul might have used could have gone like this: "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud." However, as we celebrate the presence of Wayne in his earthly life, our heart can hear it with the warmth one would answer the familiar question, what is love? And we heard in his sons speaking some of these things. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does describe the experience of Wayne that those close to him lived. But a loving person does not limit acts of love to a select few. Wayne's love poured out not only to Sherry, not only to his children and grandchildren, not only to his closest friends, not only to his family of origin and church family, not only to Abby, his golden retriever. Love was and is a big part of the presence of Wayne Roberts. Actually, presence in two ways. Presence, the CE, his presence, and presence TS, in the gift he gave his children and grandchildren, and Sherry. As I became a resident of Port Dover, I knew Wayne first as a Lion, then as a member of this church. To me, he was a Lion who happened to be a member of the church, rather than a church member who happened to be a member of the Lions. But either way, he was the same in both. Soft-spoken, witty, very witty, willing to help however he could, faithful, dependable, patient, kind, modest, cooperative, honest. He was a gifted craftsman, as you know, but he shared his gifts freely. All you had to do was ask, and I did that a few times. And in my time here, I only moved here, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And right off the bat, when I met Sherry and Wayne, they made me feel welcome. I didn't feel like a come from away. They made me feel part of this family. And so that was both of you, not just Wayne. But we'll just talk about Wayne today, okay? I asked Wayne, if you come here at Easter, I encourage you all, wouldn't it look nice, Lynn, if the church was this full on Easter morning? Anyway, this church has a very nice finished cross. It's used at Easter and other times. It was used at Easter when I came here. My second Easter, I thought, that doesn't look like a rugged cross to me. So I went to Wayne and I said, Wayne, could you build us a rugged cross? And he did that for us, and we've used it since. That to me reminded me more of the occasion of Jesus' final times on earth. But other things too, there were other things that I went to Wayne and said, could you? And he willingly, and I wouldn't even have to tell him or even to have an image up front of what I wanted. I would tell him what I wanted it for, and his creativity, he would come up with it. I also want to mention the angels that he and Pam Annabelle made stained glass windows, or he probably could have done the stained glass windows, but anyway, the angels that they made for a fundraiser for this church. And they made a lot of angels. So much that both of them had sore fingers, from working. But they did that with love for the church and what it stands for, their love of God, their love of the family that comes here, to make sure that the church had the funds that it needed to go on. We had a Lions Club meeting last night, and there were stories of Wayne as well that I really enjoyed. And I learned more. I heard from the Lions guys at our meeting about his volunteering for them. His dear friend named a few: Camp Trillium, Ivies, big involvement in making Silver Lake what it is today. And I guess I shouldn't say even Gord Johnson. I should just say Gord Johnson reminded us about the the float that he made for the parade that the boys referred to, and he made 3 of them. He was thinking they need one, and then he made 3. And one of them, Gord was telling us, was a prize winner at other parades that they took it to. I also heard that he made a, how shall I say it, beverage trailer. Yeah, and that helped the Lions out in their raising of money as well. I won't say more about the trailer. Yes, Wayne was patient. Wayne was kind. He did not envy. He did not boast. He was not proud. Not in the sense that the scripture says proud. I'm sure he was proud of his family and their accomplishments, but not the proud, this is me. He did not dishonor others. He was not self-seeking or easily angered. Wayne lived love. The last line, I think, is the reason that this passage is loved by so many. It says, meanwhile, these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And this line became, for Sherry and Wayne, the defining element of their 60 years of marriage. Their love for each other informed their days, both good and possibly the odd one not so good. But the love was there. And I just want to say, Sherry told me something. I can't remember if this is one of the things you said don't put in there, but you know, we all know that Sherry was the love of Wayne's life. And she said to him one time, well, what is it you loved about me? And I think from the look of Sherry, this was one I wasn't supposed to. He said, well, you're not that hard to look at. Sorry, Sherry. She'll never share anything with me again, I'm sure. I am confident that if we hear God speaking as we go from this world to the next, Wayne will have heard words like those in the Gospel of Matthew. Well done, good and faithful servant. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. That was absolutely beautiful and illuminating. Thank you. Sherry would like to come forth and say a few words to all of you gathered.
This isn't in my notes, but maybe Wayne wasn't proud, but I'm really proud today of my family, all of you. Thank you so much. Now I'm not going to say any more teary things. I'm going to say other things. First, I would like to thank you all for being here. It's special, and you're here to celebrate with us the incredible life of Wayne. And he truly was the love of my life for over 60 years. I'm feeling sad because I don't have Wayne in my physical day-to-day life anymore. But I've learned that being sad is okay. And if it allows me to do and say some things that normally might not be acceptable. I'm wondering how long I can play that card. I'm also feeling glad because Wayne is at peace and he doesn't have to struggle any longer. The support I have received and continue to receive has been truly incredible. I've been blessed with a loving family and many good friends. I've had hugs, calls, cards, visits, gifts of flowers and food, and many offers of all kinds of help, like dog walking. My thanks to Reverend Lynn, Reverend Catherine, Brenda, and Jim, and so many others for allowing me to be sad and kind of run this show today. Our family has been nothing short of awesome, trying to fulfill my wishes. And Wayne's sidekick, Abby, and I continue to comfort each other. She was his next best girlfriend, I think. I'm hoping. My thanks to the ladies who have prepared the refreshments as well. Wayne thought it would be really good to serve sandwiches without crusts. So they had extra work to do. I hope you will stay for a time of visiting and refreshments and enjoy some of the crustless sandwiches. Lastly, I have a request, and you already know about it because Catherine talked about it, and that was the memory cards, because I'm sure I will forget a lot of what was said today, and I would appreciate being able to read them later. I think that's about all I have to say. Catherine has really covered all about the memory cards, so just close with, as Tiny Tim said, God bless us, everyone.
Sherry selected the hymn, "O Love That Will Not Let Me Go," to follow her remarks. We're going to sing. Please remain standing as we commend Wayne Roberts on his final journey. Into your hands, O God, into your love, O God, we entrust the new life that is now Wayne's. By your creative power, God, you gave us life, and in your redeeming love, you give us new life at the end. As you leave this place, go knowing that a faithful, joyous, and full response to a death of a beloved is to live as faithfully, as beautifully, and as vigorously as you can. Each one go in peace. Amen.
Did you say a grace for upstairs before?
I'd like to say a grace before we go upstairs. God, we ask that you bless the nutrition we're about to receive. And we ask, too, that you bless the hands that prepared the food with love. And we ask, God, too, you ensure that for each one of us, we put this good food to good use, leaning in to our good God, that is you. Amen. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
You guys were great. Thank you. Peace. Hi, Gary. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for your help. It was great. Thank you. Peace, Tucker. How do you want to do this part? Should we lead them out, or how do you usually do this? Which way? Out the building?